When trouble arises, as it does so often, Peter Parker is no longer just an ordinary newspaper photographer.
Looks like it's time to call on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Having enjoyed 2 years of exclusivity on the Genesis Mega Drive, 1993 saw the final Sega release of The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin to the Sega CD platform, bringing forth a myriad of improvements, changes, and much more depth to what was a somewhat bland cookie-cutter comic book action platformer. Just to quickly hit the highlights, Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin on Genesis is a typical side-scroller broken across 7 different levels of varying terrain. You start the level, mow down enemies, and at the end a boss will appear. And once you take down the boss, you will get a key for disarming the system. On the last level, you face off an endurance match-like stacking of all your vanquished foes. And once they've been laid to waste again, you will fight the Kingpin. Now, why are we getting keys? Well, the Genesis version shows us some walls of text, but whatever.
Fellow citizens of New York, it is my painful duty to make you aware that a monstrous crime has been perpetrated against us.
But not on this release. No, we're talking about the Sega CD. The first improvement to the Genesis version is we have full motion video cutscenes throughout the game to carry the story along. We find out at the beginning that Kingpin has hidden a bomb, but via broadcast television has told the town that Spider-Man planted the bomb. You have 24 hours to dismantle the bomb, but also every single corner you turn is a bad guy, a townsperson wanting to make a citizen's arrest, or a police officer who wants to take you downtown. By looking at the pause menu, we can actually monitor our key collecting status in real time. Also a nice added improvement. So now that we know this story, let's take a look at how we navigate this thing. Unlike the other ports of this game, the Sega CD version is what I would consider an open-world, side-scrolling action-adventure game. You are given this obnoxiously huge map of New York City, and immediately you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want. The subway cars will take you down into the tubes where you can fight baddies on top of subway cars. The spiderweb spots are just general action levels. You go there, you fight the bad guys, get power-ups, and that's about it. Once you complete a level, a check mark will appear in place of the spiderweb symbol thing. This weird symbol box thingy denotes a game of pinball. It appears that this is the only one I was able to find on the map. The game is extremely quick and a little too easy to lose in my eyes. The flippers are spaced too far apart, I feel, so the ball just keeps falling between them. I was able to keep the ball in play for a little bit, but then it would just keep going down through that gap. And back to the map, when a boss shows up, he cordons off a rather large area of the map, with his face, now a red dot signaling a boss action stage. The boss action stages are the same as the normal action stages, but once you exit the stage, you start over again, and this time you encounter the actual boss at the end. And this game does have plenty of places for loading to show up, but it's not bad. A couple of seconds and you're back in the game again. Now let's actually examine the action stages for what they are, since there are quite literally a metric ton of them. If you're in the city, then you'll have typical skyscraper and street level climbing fun with the occasional jerk popping out the window to attack you. And there are plenty of jerks at the top of the buildings as well. There are also sewer levels which can turn into never-ending mazes. There are levels that take place at power stations, and there are the aforementioned subway levels which seem to me to work out better running straight through the train than on top. There are warehouses with boxes, rats, bats, and more bad guys to contend with. Central Park had some nice levels with some dang good parallax scrolling. There were plenty of hidden items in the tree, and the battle with Sandman is pretty crazy because you're also fighting off some random King Kong ape as well. And then the final level is some cavernous underground bunker lair thing with Ed 209s everywhere you look, and these guys are not messing around either. As previously stated, you have 24 in-game hours to complete all the tasks given to you at the beginning. You can waste all the time doing the action levels, or just start going directly to the boss levels. It's your call. The boss levels are laid out basically just like a standard action level, there is just a boss at the end. Same environments for the most part though. There are several Spider-Man featured supervillains to take down. We have Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, Vulture, Sandman, Mysterio, Hobgoblin, Venom, and of course Kingpin. Now as far as the map goes, I really enjoyed this approach because it lets you create your own experience, and no two players will have the same. Aside from the opening intro and story FMV segues, the game overs are some of the most endearing game overs I've seen in a while. The writers were clearly trying to make something memorable and interesting when they set up to do this game.
Nighty-night, officer.
This is one of the few Sega CD games with Q-Sound technology as well, and it sounds amazing. And can we just take a moment now to rock out to this brilliant title cut real quick?
Slipping in and out of the shadows. Every man's hero, driven by the sounds of the streets. Now it's swing time, flying for justice. Swing time, take no prisoners. Swing time, bring on the big guns. Swing time, knock it trouble out.
And yes, that is the work of the great Spencer Nilsson, head of music design for Sega of America. You'll remember his name from episode 1 with Batman and Robin, and vocals for this track were cut by Eric Martin of Mr. Big. The rest of the music for this game was composed and produced by David Young, who also worked on Echo Tides of Time, Wild Woody, and a few other titles. Level layout was handled by Dean Sitton. You may know him as one of the guys who conceptualized Sonic the Hedgehog. And according to the end credits, we have Heather Meigs and Christine Watson both contributed to level design as well. Now the reason I'm putting this out was I thought was interesting is looking into their careers, their contributions were strictly game testing. But this one particular game, they both contributed some level design as well. Voice acting was taken care of by DMP Entertainment, but no one is specifically named, probably to avoid some SAG royalties or some such. And the manual was written by Carol Ann Henshaw. If you don't recognize her name, she has contributed the English writing for many a Sega manual, including Echo the Dolphin, Star Wars Arcade, Flashback, Adventures of Batman and Robin, and the list just keeps going. I don't hear many people mention this game when talking about the Sega CD library or classic comic book games in general, but I felt like it was much more of a polished piece and more enjoyable than most of the others at the time. I just enjoyed how there were more elements of exploration and independent gameplay than you just going through a series of levels and it's over. You create and craft your own experience, and for a 1993 Marvel game, that can't be overlooked. I would definitely recommend giving this one a play once you're done with Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4.